Kawasaki's very popular staple in the middleweight sportbike segment that is loved by many, the Ninja 650. Up against the new boy coming from Yamaha, which is earning itself a lot of hype, the YZF R7. In today's video, it's Team Green vs Blue in a showdown of two bikes that could potentially be some of the best all-rounders in the category. And while they are very similar in a lot of ways, we can spot a few differences that could be the deciding factor for which you choose. G'day, I'm Kwackajack, and thanks for joining me for another video in the Versus series. Today we are putting both bikes under the magnifying glass to have a detailed specs comparison and see just what the differences are between two quite similar bikes. We'll be analysing the styling, claimed engine and power specs, exhaust notes, weight, suspension and brakes, fuel economy, features and price to see where they stack up and if the newcomer R7 has a chance of putting the Ninja in its place. Now before we get started, please do me a huge favour and give this video a like and hit subscribe if you haven't already to join our fast growing moto community. Alright, let's get straight into it and have a look at the styling of these two beauties. The Kawasaki is rocking the same design cues as its bigger cousins in the ZX lineup, like the ZX6R, with its sleek and aggressive Ninja styling. The slim fuel tank and narrow seat add to the look, and in KRT trim, I think it's a really great looking bike that you could be forgiven for thinking was bigger than just a 650. The Yamaha, on the other hand, is very reminiscent of the recently deceased R6 that it's kinda sorta replacing. This is the slimmest sport bike Yamaha currently has in its lineup, and you can see that in the chassis and tank design. And in fact, the top fairing is even narrower than the R3. I'm a bit unsure of the single front headlight, but think the overall design is very good. This will come down to personal opinion, as they're both styled well, so what do you reckon looks better? Leave a comment down below letting me know. On to the engines. The Ninja 650 at its heart has a 649cc liquid-cooled 4-stroke parallel twin engine that it shares with a few of its other variants like the Z650 and Vulcan S. This thing is known to be a pretty reliable little motor, and it will push out a modest 67 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 66 Nm of torque at 6,000. Kawasaki claims to have tuned it to have majority of its power accessible in the low to mid ranges, which should allow it to be a hoot on everyday roads. I can vouch for this powertrain, having ridden and reviewed the naked version Z650, and low down, it is a lot of fun. The Ninja also comes in a Lambs or A2 equivalent model, which is limited to just 50 horsepower at 6,500 RPM and 59 Nm of torque at the same number. In terms of acceleration, the 650 has a claimed 0 to 100 time of around 4 seconds and a top speed of 210 km per hour. This is one quick moving Ninja. On the new Yamaha R7, it is equipped with a 689cc liquid cooled CP2 inline twin cylinder that has made its way straight over from the MT-07. This new bike is really designed around that naked MT and is supposed to fill the gap between the R3 and R1. Now, it's a little controversial, and Yamaha has taken some flack for attaching the R7 name to this bike, because originally the OG R7 was very different. It was an inline 4 that made just over 100 horsepower and was a purebred SBK bike with a lot of pedigree. So some people think this new R7 is doing the original a bit of a disservice with its lower power and more approachable, less racy powertrain. But that's a topic for another time. The new R7 does come in both a high output and low output version to cater for the Lambs or A2 class, with the lower output version being a smaller 655cc version of the engine. Yamaha are being very shy about releasing official power specs for their new machine, and it seems to depend on which part of the world you're in as to what you'll get. In American markets, you can expect 67 horsepower, and in Europe it'll be 73.5 at 9,000 RPM and 67 Nm of torque at 6,500. So that should put it around the same as the MT-07 it's based off. It should be said though that the R7 does have a rear sprocket which is one tooth shorter than the MT Twin, to make gearing a bit taller and more suitable for the track. So while we don't know the 0 to 100 time yet, we can expect the top speed to be upwards of 224 km per hour. Now in terms of which comes out on top in this category, it's basically neck and neck, with most markets getting the same 67 horses and 67 Nm for both bikes. It seems that in Europe though, the R7 will create a tad more power. Will you notice any difference? Probably not. Oh, one more thing. Kawasaki gets some extra points here because both full power and learner models use the same engine, and you could unrestrict it if you really wanted to. While it would lower the value, it is an option available to you, whereas the R7, it's just a smaller overall engine on the lower output model. So before we move on, let's have a quick listen to the stock exhausts of both. to the weight, and we see both machines again coming in with very close numbers. The Kawasaki Ninja 650 has a wet weight of 192 kilograms on the road, while the new R7 is 4 kilograms lighter with a wet weight of 188 kilograms. While the difference is small, the R7 is the lighter bike and wins in the weight department, though both should be pretty agile and nimble out there on the road. And that's also in part due to the suspension, so let's have a look at the differences there. The Ninja 650 up front is rocking a 41mm hydraulic telescopic fork, and at the rear a horizontal backlink with adjustable preload. With a seat height of 790mm, we can now start to see how these two bikes differ. Kawasaki claims that this bike is really set up for the road and it should excel at being comfortable for everyday riding, as well as weekend fun in the mountains. The seat height is quite low, and while the suspension is perfectly capable, it doesn't offer the complete adjustability that you'd want or expect for a bike that'd be more set up for track use. The R7 on the other hand, at the front has a KYB 41mm upside down forks, which are preload, rebound and compression adjustable, with a linked monoshock that is preload and rebound adjustable at the back. The Yamaha has a much higher seat at 835mm and more aggressive ergonomics. The adjustability that the R7 provides, as well as those rider ergos, should mean that this bike will have a much better time with track use and allow people to really set it up how they like. I mean, they do say on their website that this is a track-focused supersport. While I'm sure you could use both bikes in either situation, road or race, we can see that each is set up and really designed to excel in different use cases. The Kawasaki will be a really great everyday sport bike on the road with a more comfortable seating position, where the Yamaha is more racy and probably a lot better on the track. As for brakes, up front on the Kawasaki, you're equipped with dual semi-floating 300mm pedal discs with dual piston calipers and a single 220mm pedal disc with single piston caliper at the back. It does come with ABS as standard, but the brakes here aren't really anything to write home about. The Yamaha has got dual 298mm rotors with radial 4-piston calipers and Brembo radial master cylinder at the front, and at the back a single 245mm rotor with Nissan caliper. The R7 does also have ABS, but some people have complained about the lack of ability to turn it off. At the end of the day, in the brakes department, neither are rocking anything exceptional, but the R7 does have the higher end brakes. Okay, so what about fuel range and economics? These bikes are meant to be sporty while still being used every day, and an important aspect of being a good everyday bike is the range you'll get. When it comes to overall tank size, the Ninja is the clear winner, having a 15-litre tank and an estimated usage of 22 km per litre. That should give you an estimated range of around 330 km from a tank, which is pretty decent. The R7 on the other hand has a smaller 12.8-litre tank and an estimated usage of around 21 km per litre. While that usage isn't bad, the overall smaller tank size will give you an estimated range of around 270 km per tank. So in the fuel range and economy sector, the Ninja comes out on top with the bigger tank and longer range. Alright, now we are coming to the last two categories where we really start to see these two bikes pull away from each other in terms of similarities. First is features, where there is a bit of a difference with what each manufacturer is offering on their machines, and I think that reflects further on what they were designed for. Looking at the Kawasaki, some of the features from the larger and more expensive bikes in the range have made their way down the line and offers some real value here. The notable features on the 650 include full color TFT display with Bluetooth connectivity, Kawasaki's Rideology app services, ABS, lightweight trellis frame, assist and slipper clutch, full LEDs, luggage hooks built into passenger foot pads, Dunlop tires, sleek underbody exhaust, and Ninja styling. Really the standout here though is that TFT display, which is probably one of the best on the market right now and has that phone connectivity. For the price you pay, which we'll discuss in a minute, you're getting a fair amount of value for money here. Over on the Yamaha, the features include that 270-degree cross-plane crank engine, adjustable suspension, LCD dash, full LEDs, an optional quick shifter on the high output model, and for the first time, an assist and slipper clutch. You're still getting a decent amount of features, but the dash is not the same quality or offers the same functionality that the Kawasaki does. Really, this is kind of a bare bones motorcycle when it comes to rider aids too. In this department, I'm going to give it to the Kawasaki. Lastly, we come to price, and I think for most people this will probably be the deciding factor between the two. There are currently two versions of both bikes on the market here in Australia, the Lambs and full powered versions. For either of those on the Kawasaki, you'll be paying the same price of $12,087 right away. I think that's some real value for money for a brand new bike with usable engine, good feature set, and everyday rider capabilities. Depending on which Yamaha you choose though, you'll be paying different prices. The low output Lambs model here in Australia at the time of recording has a right away price of $13,999, where the full powered one is $1,000 more at $14,999. So you will have to pay more to get the full powered model, and again, if you get the lower output model, you won't be able to just unrestrict it. It's a pretty clear win for the Kawasaki in the price department, being almost $2,000 less than the cheapest option of the Yamaha. So this brings us to the question of side by side in a specs comparison, who wins? Well, each has their strengths and are really close in a lot of ways. They both have around the same power, with the Kawi being a bit more focused in the lower end and Yamaha in the high. They weigh nearly the same. The Yamaha will do better on the track with its more aggressive ergo setup and better brakes, but the Kawasaki has the better fuel economy, features, and is cheaper. So I suppose it comes down to what is more important to you. For me personally, I'd go with the Ninja 650, but let me know which one you'd take down below in the comments. You can also leave me a suggestion for which two bikes you think should go under the microscope together next, and if I use it, I'll give you a shout out. Thanks for watching guys, and till next time, see ya!